Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Evan Witt Podcast. I am Evan Witt, your host, and talking some Green Bay Packers. And a week ago today, the Packers played their final game of the 2017 NFL season, missing the playoffs for the first time since 2008. They fired Dom Capers right after the game against Detroit, let two more defensive assistants go, the defensive line and inside linebackers coach, and then Ted Thompson steps aside. He is going to be a front office personnel consultant, and now it was time for a new general manager for the Green Bay Packers. And what do the Packers do with a new GM? Do they hire one of three internal guys, Elliott Wolf, Russ Ball, or Brian Gutekunst? Who do they hire? Do they go outside the organization? Bring in a familiar face in John Schneider, who is out in Seattle, or bring in someone that has no ties to the Green Bay Packers? And this led to a week of speculation and arguing and bickering all over Packers social media, as it looked like early on in the week that Russ Ball was going to get the job. Tom Silverstein talked earlier in the week about how Russ Ball was the front man. Bob McGinn talking Russ Ball as well being the front man, saying if Russ Ball got the job, Mike McCarthy was going to quit. Mike McCarthy sounded like he took a few shots in his press conference, toward end of the year press conference at the front office for not giving him the pieces that he needed in order to run an efficient team on offense and defense. And he also took a good shot at Demarius Randall, who Randall took some shots at the coaching and the play calling. So McCarthy took some shots back at him, saying he needs to get his house in order. So it was a lot of head-scratching conflict and turmoil in the Packers front office all week. And Sunday, January 7th, the Green Bay Packers hired their man and Brian Gutekunst to be their new general manager. And here's my thoughts on it. I think he was the Packers guy all along. You know, they wanted to go through a search. A legit general manager search. I think some people in the front office leaked the name Russ Ball just to get, I think, the reaction for when they did make their hire. People aren't going to be all up in arms about it because they got all up in arms on Russ Ball being a money guy, a bean counter, the salary cap guru, getting the job, not having personnel experience. People were up in arms about that all week, speculating that Ted Thompson would, in fact, still have control over player personnel, while Russ Ball was going to be the spokesperson. And I'll admit, I kind of bought that a little bit, but I was kind of taking it from a different perspective. That Mike McCarthy was looking for more say in player personnel, so he was looking for someone that would get him more say. So I figured McCarthy was either going to be the Packers head coach with some say in player personnel, or he was going to be let go altogether. But at the end of the day, the Packers get their man. I think they planned for this all along. They wanted to go through the interviews, and I'll just call him Brian, BG. He just knocked the interviews out of the park. He from what I've read, he knocked them out of the park, and the Packers feel they're getting the most qualified man for the job. And we'll see how he does. Is he going to be more like Ron Wolf, who he studied and trained and learned NFL scouting and player analytics and all those other whatever terms you want to use from? Or is he going to be more like his boss and Ted Thompson, where he's very frugal on what he does? I think he's going to be more of a Ron Wolf type. So it's too early to tell, but I think the Packers got a good guy. Elliott Wolf, I think a lot of the Packer fans that wanted him, they're so hardcore, give me Elliott Wolf people, were more looking at the last name. The last name is Wolf, and they want somebody like his father Ron Wolf back, and they think that's what they're going to get in Elliott Wolf. But at the end of the day, we don't know what we get in Elliott Wolf. It's just a name. He's 35 years old. Who's to say in 10, 15 years the Packer job's not open again and he gets an opportunity for it? It just wasn't his time. So if he is meant to be a general manager of the Packers, he probably have another time shot down the road if he wants it. Now, I think Elliott Wolf stays in Green Bay this season. There's really not any opportunities out there for general managers at the moment. The only one I can know of is Houston, and they're going to interview Brian today before the Packers extended the offer to him to be the general manager, promotion from director of player personnel. It's not the only news the Packers made this weekend. They also brought an old face back in Joe Philbin. Joe Philbin, the offensive coordinator for the Packers, from 2006, I want to say, to the 2011 season. No, than 2006 season, but anyways, he was an offensive coordinator for the Packers for 4 years, actually. 2011 was his last year in Green Bay before going to be head coach of the Miami Dolphins. And as he was offensive coordinator in Green Bay, I don't really know what that entails for him, as Mike McCarthy calls the plays, and he said he's going to again this year. But the offense just seemed to be more explosive with Joe Philbin. The running game, the passing game, it seemed like it was a lot more explosive. And I know they had different personnel then, but I think the Packers are looking to bring some of that back with Joe Philbin. Because Joe Philbin, I think Mike McCarthy trusts him. I think Mike McCarthy listens to him. He pays attention to what he has to say. Edgar Bennett, Tom Clements were probably more yes men. And Mike McCarthy wanted somebody who was going to challenge him and challenge Aaron Rodgers a little bit more. And I think that's what you get in Joe Philbin. Philbin's a no-nonsense guy who isn't afraid to get into your face. So that's pretty much the Packer news this week. A lot of news to talk about. They still got to hire a new defensive coordinator. They are interviewing 3 internal guys in Winston Moss, Darren Perry, and Joe Witt Jr., but I'm sure there's going to be some outside names to interview as well. Vic Fangio is a name that's thrown around, but to interview him, the Packers got to wait till Tuesday to interview him to avoid asking for permission from the Bears, which I'm sure the Bears would automatically say no, because they do not want to lose Fangio to a division rival. I think he would be the more natural fit to the personnel the Packers currently have if they want to go out of house. I think Chuck Pagano goes back to Baltimore with Baltimore's defensive coordinator retiring. That would be someone I wouldn't mind in Green Bay. But I think Fangio is the natural fit for the job. You look at the personnel the Packers have. You look at Fangio's pedigree. I think Fangio can come in and do a pretty good job with this Packer defense, assuming they get some more talent and some more depth in this defense, especially in the back half and also at linebacker. Because let's be honest, as well as Blake Martinez played, they're pretty thin at linebacker, especially in the middle. Joe Thomas is just a guy, and Jake Ryan, he's effort. He brings a lot of effort, but at the end of the day, he's just a guy as well. So that's what the Packers need to do on the horizon. They need to hire a defensive coordinator. They need to hire a quarterbacks coach. They need to hire a defensive line coach. They need to hire an inside linebackers coach. So it'll be interesting to see what the Packers do this week, see if they hire someone this week or see what happens. And either way, I'll be back at the end of the week talking Packer recap, what happened this week with the Green Bay Packers. So thank you so much for listening. This is the Evan Witt Podcast, and I will get back at you later.